Hey everybody, how you doing? Here we are at one of my favorite shops, Perth County Moto. Jeff and Lindz, who own this shop, are absolutely fantastic. This is a great place right in Stratford, Ontario. It's a beautiful setting. There's great riding around here. These people keep a lot of inventory. This is just a fantastic shop. Why don't you join me and we'll go take a look around inside.
Welcome to Speed and Color, a podcast and YouTube channel about custom motorcycle culture. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to get all the latest content. You can also follow Speed and Color on Instagram. We hope you enjoy the show.
Well, here we are in beautiful Stratford, Ontario, at a place that I've just really been wanting to visit, and a guy that I've been wanting to sit down and talk to here. So we are at Perth County Moto, and I'm with Jeff. And Jeff, I don't know your last name.
O'Neill. Yeah.
O'Neill. Jeff O'Neill. Jeff, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
And so Perth County Moto, I'll give you a little bit of background, and then we'll get Jeff involved here. But Perth County Moto, Karen and I were here in 2022, I believe it was. We came down for a family event to Ontario. We were coming out to Stratford, actually to Mitchell to see family. And we were going past Shakespeare and the Shakespeare Brewing Company. And as we were going past Shakespeare, I think it was there that we saw a sign that there was an event the next day. Dice Magazine was having a 100th anniversary issue. Yeah. So we saw that and we thought, wow, it'd be great to see some of the local motorcycle stuff. And we came back the next day, and unfortunately it was raining. But there were bikes there were choppers there, lots of old school stuff. And we walked around and we talked to the people, and we met Jeff, and unfortunately we didn't meet Lee Sipes from the Bad Livin' Roadshow, but he found out we were there. Anyway, Jeff and I had a bit of a talk there, met some other cool people in the area, saw the bikes and stuff. And I was so impressed with the community and just the vibe, and everybody was so happy and getting along, and there was no competitive edge. Everybody was working together. There was a nice little trade show area set up and everything. And I saw all that and I thought, there is something different going on in this part of the world. But in Southern Ontario here, there's something going on. There's a different vibe. And that was kind of confirmed when we went to the Bad Livin' Roadshow as well. So based on that visit, I knew I had to get back here and see this guy. And here we are. We're in your new store, because when we were here in, I'm sure that was 2022, you were still in the downtown location.
Yes. Yeah.
So the downtown location, you kind of outgrew it?
Yeah, we outgrew it, but we also, when Lindsay and I first decided to open Perth County Moto, we always had a bigger vision, so to speak, for the store, with a bigger footprint and some food and beverage components added. But both of us were new to retail. We'd never worked in that industry before, motorcycle industry at that. So we wanted to start small. So we found that location, and we loved the location, and the store was great. So really it was that we had started there just to kind of test the concept a little bit.
Right.
And then it was always our goal to move to a bigger spot.
Okay.
So, yeah, so we were there. Our goal, I think, originally was 4 to 5 years, and we ended up there for about 6. So before we found the right spot. So
it was a very unique location.
Yes.
It was very cool. And is it fair to say that it probably really kicked off your bike nights and stuff because of that central kind of location?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. Getting them into that location at first had its hurdles because that square downtown had just been renovated. So the city had put in a lot of money So they were a little bit nervous about bikes coming in and,
Right.
dripping oil and what have you. But we worked through that first season with them with some hiccups. And then we noticed right away it was a small gathering, but it was people that really loved the atmosphere, the vibe downtown.
Right.
So then I kind of got a little strategic with being out there for bike nights and taking photos of bikes and that environment. And I think that really spread through social media, and people started coming out because they wanted to participate, in a bike night in a unique location like downtown like that. So
Right.
it's a real historic downtown in Stratford. So, and that did play a big part in getting people out and growing our bike nights for sure. So
Cool.
Yeah.
It was a great location. That said, man, this new one is awesome.
yeah, thank you.
This is fantastic. So the new location for Perth County Moto is, I guess you would call this maybe the outskirts of Stratford.
Yeah.
It's on the edge.
We're actually just outside of Stratford. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But a little bit closer, not a lot, but a little bit closer to Kitchener, Waterloo, that area.
Yeah.
Makes it a nice ride out here, and the roads are beautiful, and the scenery's fantastic. And
For sure. Yes.
yeah, it's a good location that way.
Yeah, and that was something that it took us that extra year to find a location, because we debated going into the GTA or Guelph or the Tri-Cities or even London, but we wanted to remain a destination, and we love Stratford. So
Right.
we at least wanted to come a little more east. Like you said, it's not tremendously closer, but so much of our business comes in from Toronto or Kitchener, Waterloo area. So it does save that. And now people coming in from out of town aren't getting lost downtown trying to find the store and then find parking on top of that. So it does make it easier for customers for sure.
You just said something that made me think we should help the viewers out here a little bit and tell them a little bit more about you guys before we get too much further into the store.
Sure.
So you mentioned you love Stratford. Born here, from here, you, Lindsay?
Yeah, so Lindsay and I are both from Cambridge, just down the road.
Okay.
And I was a chef before this for about 16 years. And the Stratford Chef School was always a goal of my bucket list, to go to the Stratford Chef School.
Okay.
So it was something that I kind of didn't pursue out of high school. And then I got my red seal. And then at some point in my career, I thought I'd really still love to go to the chef school. So we came out here for a year so that I can go to the chef school, and we just really loved the area. And specifically, we would drive through Shakespeare, and we really liked kind of that even more. It's just even smaller towns. So a few years later, we were moving and looking for a new place, and thought we'd check out Shakespeare, and found a nice house with a workshop. I had a leather business at the time. I'd kind of gotten out of cooking. It's kind of a long story with another business.
Right.
And that had a workshop. So yeah, that's what brought us out here anyways.
You said red seal. Red seal in cooking, or
Yeah,
red seal in motorcycles?
No, Red Seal Chef.
Okay.
Yeah.
Red seal chef.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So what got you into motorcycles?
Yeah, it's kind of a long story, but
It's okay. We got time.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, all I wanted to be since I was a little kid. Like I think I was 7 when I started saying I wanted to be a chef, not even really knowing what it meant, I'm sure, but it really was a singular focus. And then motorcycles, like a lot of young boys and a lot of young kids, was just something I really, gravitated to. Wanted a motorcycle when I grew up. So I got my first kitchen job when I was 14, and it was out of town. So then, before my 16th birthday, I got a motorcycle, and then got my license when I turned 16, just because it gave me more independence, actually, to get to my work and back. Instead of a car where I would need a driver with me still, a bike, $15, and I can go commute myself to work. So,
Sure.
So really, it was a pretty singular focus on cooking and owning a restaurant, really. And then, as I said, I ended up going to the Stratford Chef School after I had my red seal, and a chef instructor there had a leather knife roll for carrying his knives that his wife bought him, and I was tired of having these knife rolls that were kind of falling apart, so I wanted one of these leather ones, and he gave me the guy's card who made his, and he was in Texas. They were $1,500, far out of my reach, so I bought some leather, made one for myself. Somebody wanted to buy it on Facebook, I sold it, and then that actually became a business. that was full time. So I left cooking and I was just making leather knife rolls. And then I started making leather, I was doing leather carving quite a bit.
Right.
So I was making saddlebags and motorcycle seats because that was always this other hobby and kind of passion. And since I wasn't focused on cooking for the first time in most of my life, I started playing more with that hobby in that way. So it kind of spurred off two separate businesses. I had Lance Cove Customs, which was doing motorcycle seats and saddlebags and such. And then 86 Chef Apparel, where I was doing knife rolls and aprons. And so anyway, so we did that for about 5 years. And then in that time, I kept saying to Lindz, we're always ordering gear that we can't find here, like from the US or Europe. And you get it, you don't know if it fits. Parts for our bikes, same thing. You don't know the quality until it shows up in your hand. And we kept saying, I wish somebody would open a shop that would have these brands that we can't find anywhere here. And it was a really passive comment that we used to talk about, like, I wish somebody would do it kind of thing. And then, one night talking with a buddy of mine over a couple beers, we got talking about it, and I said that, and I think he just misunderstood what I was saying. And he said, yeah, you and Lindsay would be perfect for that. And I thought, oh, yeah, I guess we could do it. So the story goes kind of is it was one night going to bed pretty late, and I'd said to Lindsay, hey, I have this idea. We should open this store. We should do all this. And she was a little frustrated because we were, trying to get this leather business really up and going to a point we needed it to, and we'd already put years and money into it. And she says, "What are you? We're already on this other path. Like, let's not try to take on a business like a store that we know nothing about." And then I said, "Yeah, okay, sorry, you're right." Yeah. And the next day she texted me, well, she was at work and said, "I can't shake that idea. Let's talk about it." And it was 3 months later that we opened Perth County Moto. So it's I said, it's kind of a long, convoluted story, but all those pieces, kind of had to fall together to get there in the end. So
that's the way life goes, right?
For sure.
We get taken down different paths than what we thought we were going to do, and
so.
Good for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
So, how many years in business now?
We just passed 7 years.
7.
Yeah.
Okay.
So downtown for 6 years, and then the build out of the new store was about somewhere around 7 months, I think, much longer than we anticipated. So we just passed our 7-year mark. So
Okay. Still doing leather work?
No.
Not even on motorcycles?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
At the first location at the back, I had a little, I wouldn't even call it a workshop. I had a work desk. Because that was part of our original vision for the store, was that I was going to offer leather work right in the store. But pretty quickly I realized I just couldn't. I couldn't keep up with that and manage the store and inventory and all those things. And customers were patient, and they'd say, well, I don't need it right away. I'm okay to wait. But I wasn't able to turn around product in a time that I was satisfied with, so we just stopped that altogether. So
okay. Now, that said, you seem to have a lot of very creative people around you. There's Graham at Almost Old School.
Yep.
There's a gal that I met at Shakespeare that I haven't contacted again yet.
Yep.
But I think she was doing seats and knife holsters, whatever you call them.
Yeah.
Very talented leather worker, I thought.
Yeah, that's Natalie at Haversack Leather. Yeah.
Haversack Leather,
yes. Yeah. And I send all that business to her. She's phenomenal. So what she does, and her husband's a chef.
Does she do seats and stuff?
She does, yes. So upholstery is a lot of what she does in leather work. But because she has that chef connection, she also does the same, like knife rolls and stuff. So it's nice. So I send from either one of those two previous businesses, I send everybody her way now. So
excellent.
Yeah,
lots of. And I guess that's part of why I wanted to come and visit you and talk with you too. Is Jeff, I wondered if maybe you were, if you had your business degree and had found some secret that you knew how to make money hand over fist with a motorcycle shop or something. Because
I wish.
I look at what you're doing, and it is so unique and it's so different. And I have to say, we have one shop that is maybe a little bit similar in Calgary. Wonderful people, they do a great job, but it's nothing on the scale that Perth County Moto is.
Oh, okay.
And, I see what you're doing. I see the attendance for your bike nights and for your anniversary events and your race weekends, you play the races, whatever. Yeah. And that's another thing we'll talk about is everything that you guys do. But the attendance and the Bad Living Roadshow too. Mm-hmm. I was blown away by the number of bikes, the number of old school choppers and everything. Yep. As I say to guys in Calgary, we'd have a hard time getting 20 bikes together, it seems.
Sure.
And here, you guys just have this huge wealth of old bikes and cool bikes, and whether it's choppers or cafes or whatever, there's just such a variety and so much stuff. And I guess what I've come up with is the only real answer is population.
Sure.
You guys have population up the wazoo between Toronto and then this surrounding area. Yeah. And I mean, small towns coming out here. Geez, between Kitchener and here, how many small towns do you go through? 4 or 5, I think it is. For sure, right? Yeah. And it's less than a half-hour drive. Yeah. In Alberta, a half hour between towns is a lot of towns.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
So quite a difference that way. But very, very interesting how that population makes such a difference and makes it so good.
Yeah, it's interesting. For years before we opened the store, I was always interested in choppers and such, and obviously grew up watching, in that era, watching Jesse James and such, so grew up with an interest in those kinds of bikes and what have you. But I remember for quite a while there feeling like nobody else was into them, only because I didn't know anybody. Right. I felt very isolated, and it's not that I was building chops or by any means. I was just interested in them and wished that I was seeing more of them. The idea of building one was, kind of just a dream that I wasn't going to approach. And I have to say, going to a local bike night, and this was probably close to 10 years ago, I guess, going to a local bike night and running into a gentleman who became a good friend, Ross Herget, just down the road. And he was just starting a Facebook group called Oil and Ale. And he really started that at the right time, where I think there was kind of a resurgence in vintage bikes and customizing backyard builds and what have you. And it was a fluke. I got talking to him. He actually wrote in on an old BSA chopper, and that's why I went and talked to him. And he said, well, kind of started this thing. I think there was 10 people involved. Lee was one of them from Bad Living. And he really quickly created a community, and it just became the first place, I think, in Southern Ontario where a lot of people were getting interconnected. And I'd meet a lot of people who were saying the same thing, saying, I've been into the scene for so long, been into it as in wanting to get into it, right. Wishing it existed, really, I guess is what I should say, and just feeling like it didn't. And then all of a sudden, that Facebook group really connected. He did a lot of events and what have you. And I think that was another catalyst for Lindsay and I, to look around and say, wow, look at all these people. Like I had no idea that this was that big of a thing, in Ontario. Right. And then all of a sudden there was all these, in the course of, I'll probably get the numbers wrong, but I think in the course of a year or two, he grew from when I met him around 10, I think, up to, I think, over 600 people, and it was just like that, right? So, and it really did help, I think, draw that connection. And since then, it's just continued to grow just organically, and more shops opening and what have you. So, I think it does make a difference having, like you say, the population.
Yeah. It's very cool. And I mean, really, and I'm sure you know this, you're a pretty sharp guy. For something like Perth County Moto to exist in a town the size of Stratford and be successful.
Sure.
Not a lot of people would have been betting for you. That's for sure.
Yeah. I still hear that often. But the first probably year and a half that we were open downtown, we had customers constantly come in from Stratford who would tell us, like, they didn't really they didn't sugarcoat it. And they'd say, wow, you guys are not going to be here very long, And then that was hard to hear for sure. And I thought, oh, geez, we've invested now, so we better be. But but people from out of town would often write in and say kind of the same, maybe sugarcoat it a bit more and say, like, why Stratford? Why would you do this? But Lindsay and I love the idea of a destination. And, we talk about it probably once a year still and say it would be a lot easier if we moved to KW or into the GTA or something because of population, right?
But I don't know if it would.
Yeah, that's where we always land too.
Yeah, and
it feels like it
that's-
would be. But,
that's the problem is you don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of shops in the middle of population that don't have what this place has.
Oh, okay. That's interesting feedback, and that's great to hear because
this place definitely has a vibe. As you say, it's a destination. People want to come here, and you're doing a lot of great things here, and I'm going to let you speak about that. I'll get some B-roll, I'll take a walk around and get some footage in here. But the apparel that you have, the hard parts that you have, the stuff that you have on display, we're sitting here, there's the coffee bar, whatever you want to call that, with the ice cream here. There's beautiful leather couches and chairs to sit on and relax. You were just talking about your movie nights, which I take are going to be in this area.
Yes,
There's just so much going on here. It's so cool. If I lived in this area, I'd probably be your biggest pain in the ass because I'd want to come in and just hang out all the time. So tell us about, you were telling me last night a little bit about your strategy for inventory and kind of what you see the store as, and share with us your thoughts about the whole place.
Sure, yeah. When we opened, again, Lindsay and I were new to the industry, like the retail industry specifically. We just knew that we couldn't compete with the giants in the industry. And we weren't looking to. Like, we really wanted to be a place that had different options compared to kind of the big shops, so to speak, online and in store. So that right away kind of led us down a certain path of carrying brands that nobody else had. When we first opened, we envisioned the store being more, I'll say, chopper-centric, like really about backyard builders, cafe racers, bobbers, choppers, trackers. And we wanted to pretty much sell hard parts that you couldn't get. We wanted to sell some tools, have that leather shop in the back, and really be a hub for the community is what we always said, but for that community specifically originally. So we wanted to work with Natalie, for example, from Haversack Leather, Jamie from Savage Customs, paint. Like, we knew people, again, through Oil and Ale, really, we knew other people in the community, and we thought, okay, let's be a hub, because it's so hard as a small business to get the word out. And I realized for myself, had I wanted to build a chopper at the time, I wouldn't know where to find somebody to do the leather work, or somebody to do the paint work, or etc., the fabrication if needed, all that kind of stuff. So that was our original goal. So we started working with brands that we just couldn't find here in Canada. Pretty quickly we realized that wasn't going to be a sustainable business. There's just not enough people building bikes for just that. So we started carrying helmets. I think by the time our doors were open, actually, we had already brought on a few helmet brands. But we really did try to focus on a certain level of quality, and then stuff that ideally nobody else had. And that was really what set the groundwork. And then we carried a little bit of apparel, but back then it was only small Canadian businesses. And that was it for apparel. So, and that, again, it was about trying to be a hub, where we were bringing in brands from the US and Europe, but otherwise we were really focused on just the local community, and we tried to balance that the best we could. So that's what kind of led us down the path. And then the more we started selling gear and parts, the more we realized that quality really was more important to us than we even first realized. So the brands kind of changed a little bit as we went, and I really enjoyed diving in. I love learning as it is. So, diving into all the nerdy stuff about what makes a helmet safe and riding gear safe and such, I really enjoy doing. So, I dive into that quite a bit. And we are pretty careful about brands that we curate and products that we curate to be unique from other places. And we like when people come in to be able to offer them that education if they want it, to help them find the right gear or parts for what they're doing. So
Right.
that kind of leads our focus as far as what we carry anyways.
Right.
So
And the last night looking at your apparel or gear, whatever you want to call it, really nice. A lot of stuff that I haven't seen before. I'm wearing my new Loser Machine shirt that I bought here last night. Something I haven't seen before.
oh, nice.
And the t-shirts and just really nice stuff. Great designs, some color, which Karen knows I'm crazy about color.
Yeah.
If I never own another black t-shirt in my life, Jeff, I'll be a happy man, right?
Yeah.
And they're done to death.
Sure.
And there's some options here. There's some variety and some cool stuff. And you've got the place laid out like a real retail store. You've got nice displays, nice shelving, nice racking.
Yeah, thank you.
Really, really well done. The other thing that I want to talk about is some of the hard parts, which it's not an expansive section of your store or inventory, and it may grow, but little things like we were talking earlier about a gas tank for the XS650.
Yeah.
Well, you've got half a dozen gas tanks here, and you've got several different bikes on display, so that I can look at the tanks, look at the bikes, imagine where I'm going with my build, and figure out, is that the tank or is that the tank? And, I'm sorry, you can't do that online. You just can't do that online.
Yeah.
So, being able to do that kind of thing. This shirt, I'm a fat guy. I'm one of those guys where, is XL going to do it?
Sure.
Usually it does, but I get tricked the odd time and should have gone that double X, right?
I understand that struggle.
Yeah, there you go. I think most of us do.
Yeah.
But, being able to come in, pick it up, go to your change room, try it on, and know that, yes, this shirt fits me. I can spend my money and I'm not going to be disappointed. I can't do that when I buy online.
Yeah.
I know you have an online store.
Certainly, yes.
Good for you.
Sure.
That's great. And I hope it's doing well for you. What Tyler does at Lowbrow, amazing business.
Yes,
and
for sure.
Awesome. And I've bought stuff from Lowbrow, lots of stuff from Lowbrow, more stuff than Karen would like me to buy from Lowbrow. But anyway.
I understand that struggle too.
Yeah. But excellent business and everything. But again, I can't look at the Lowbrow website and imagine that 5.5-inch fender versus that 6 1/4.
Yes.
I can take a tape measure. I can do all those different things.
Yeah.
But the shape and everything, if I can actually see it, or if I can hold it up against a tire, if I can do that kind of thing, that makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, yeah. And Lowbrow was actually one of the first brands we worked with for parts, for that reason. Because I also was, buying a lot of stuff off Lowbrow, and I loved working with them for that purpose. We'd carry as much as we could, and it was often that people would bring in a tire to hold the fender up and check it out or something, right? Or a place that they could easily return something if they did order in a fender and say it wasn't right after all. Then we do our best to work with them on that and accept a return. It's my inventory now, kind of thing. So, but for that purpose specifically, and parts has always been the biggest side of our business. It's just I don't keep a lot in stock because what I do stock usually are those specialty parts, tanks and stuff. Because I find that if I don't stock them, I think people don't realize that we can get them because they are a weird thing that a lot of shops don't stock, right? So I try to keep that on hand more than anything and be the go-to place for those kind of oddball parts, so to speak. With that said, we carry all the major brands for brand new bikes. We carry we're an S&S dealer. All the major exhaust companies for the new Harleys or metrics or anything.
Right.
So we do all that as well. But what we focus on stocking or advertising the most is more that kind of not random, but they're not as common parts anyways for something a little more custom. So yeah.
So, excellent having that here. I wish you were in my backyard.
Yeah.
And again, I'm absolutely not being critical of other businesses, but I know in Calgary, there just isn't quite a place like this with those items I can go look at. And different shops have different stuff on display, but somehow not the common or common sense items that you seem to be bringing in here. I still have to go take a look at your wheels over there.
Yeah.
It's a great display of wheels, which even if I'm not buying that wheel here, it tells me what I need and I can order it from you. And Bruce is going to get on his soapbox right now and we'll be okay with this. But I'm going to tell you, online, yes, I get it. We need it. Even Jeff does online. There is a place for it. However, if you're in the motorcycle community or any other community, if you have local shops who are doing a good job and providing a service and, doing the kind of thing that Perth County Moto is doing, please support these people. This is not government funded. This doesn't exist if people don't buy products. And we need to spend money in these places. And I'll give you a perfect example. I came in and talked to you about gas tanks last night. And I asked you for a price on one. And I'm going to put it out there. I looked at it online at TC Bros, and I was thinking about how I could get it when I went down to Vegas and have it shipped to the hotel and bring it back, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Okay. I came in and I said, Jeff, how much is that narrow Sportster tank? Your price on it, I believe you said, was $240.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Okay. I went back to TC Bros website and looked it up, and it's $199.95 US. The $40 difference does not cover the exchange rate today at 1.39. So don't even worry about shipping or duty or any of that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't buy that tank with Canadian dollars in the US for less money than I can buy it from Perth County Moto. So I'm going home with a gas tank because it just makes sense. And I can understand if there's a huge price savings, and I think Jeff understands that too.
Yeah.
But you know what? If the price is comparable, if there's a small additional to support a local business, great. But if you can save money by getting it locally, then I really don't understand why we go online. And I'm not going to pick on anybody in the motorcycle business.
Sure, yeah.
But I'll pick on Amazon, because who cares if I pick on Amazon? Yeah. You know what? Amazon has never offered me a coffee. Amazon has never put on a bike night. Amazon has never played the GP races or
Sure,
whatever. Yeah. Amazon has never gone out and supported the Bad Living Road show. And I can't buy an ice cream cone at Amazon. So I'm here to say we need this kind of place. Bruce is now off his soapbox. We're good again.
I appreciate you saying that, though. It's been such a big point for Lindsay and I to not raise the price above. Like we really look as much as we can at, okay, what is it for the average customer to buy direct, even if it is overseas or from the US, versus buying with us. And if it comes out of our end to make it equal, then that's what we do, because I understand that's the world we live in. There are certain brands where that's just not an option. They don't just give us enough room that we can do that. So, like you say, sometimes it is might be a couple dollars more, but generally speaking, we do our very best to make sure it's the same if you buy from us or buy direct. but it's by the time you pay the shipping and the duties that it all of a sudden becomes more expensive from the U.S. So I appreciate you saying that.
Hey,
sure.
no problem. Yeah. Did I mention my new Loser Machine shirt? Yeah, I think I covered that.
Yeah.
Anyway, do you have anything else that you want to point out to us? Is there anything I've missed? Let me take a quick look at my notes, because I'm thinking we need to move over to your motorcycle.
Sure.
I
don't think...
I know what I wanted to tell you.
Yeah.
Your new... we wanted to touch on social media.
Oh.
These people do a fantastic job of social media. And again, well... Here we go. I'm glad I didn't put the soapbox too far away. Social media. The key to social media is that it is social, and social means interaction. So please, by all means, follow Perth County Moto wherever you do that. Are you guys on Facebook?
Facebook and Instagram.
I don't do Facebook.
YouTube,
Zuckerberg and I disagree on some things.
Fair enough.
I love Instagram.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he owns that too.
Yes,
But I can't stand Facebook.
Yeah.
So you're on Facebook, you're on Insta.
Yeah. YouTube as well. But yeah, Facebook's our big... Instagram's the big one we focus on.
Good.
Yeah.
So Instagram, by all means, comment, do all that kind of stuff. Like I say, these guys do a great job. You were doing an awesome job, and I'm going to put the pressure on you here. You were doing an awesome job with some technical stuff.
Oh, okay.
You were doing little technical blurbs and putting them up, and you were probably aiming them at YouTube, but they were really working on Insta too.
Yes.
And I watched the one about how to mount a fender.
Oh, okay.
And I have to say thank you very much. That was an excellent video. I loved it. Gave me all kinds of ideas. So, long story short, do more of those, Jeff.
Oh, perfect.
Okay?
I appreciate that feedback. Yeah, absolutely.
Do more of those. And YouTube Shorts change October 15th. So, change this week from 1 minute to 3 minutes.
Oh, that's good.
Which is perfect, because now you can do your tech video at 1 minute. I always loved the 1 minute format because it was a challenge to make it fit, and I like a challenge.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the 3 minutes is going to make it a lot easier to get the proper content out there.
I agree, because it's often that I shoot for that 1 minute, and then it's works for Instagram, but I've run a bit long, and then I've got to re-edit and chop it for YouTube.
Can be tough,
so that's good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's, again, being our idea of being a hub for the community. That was kind of a driving thing, was for social media, because I'm not a social media person at all. So I don't want our social media to ever be just us posting product, for people, because it's just not who I am. Probably a better salesman would do that. I just, I hate seeing it myself on social media. So I'd rather post something that hopefully is interactive with people. But yeah.
So in terms of sales, the other thing I was going to tell you is I love your new auction idea.
Oh, great. Thanks.
Yeah. Don't overdo it, but don't stop.
Yeah.
And I know that on some of those items, you probably don't make a lot of money at the end of the day, but what a great idea to take a slow moving item or a special order that got returned or whatever.
Sure.
And I will be bidding. There's been nothing so far that I've needed. I know so many guys like, heck, he won't mind me mentioning his name, Kurt at Dirty Customs.
Yeah.
He'll get all turned on to that, because Kurt, if you watched the last episode, I interviewed Kurt, and he says, some people would call it his garbage pile, or somebody called it.
Okay.
He calls it his treasure pile,
nice.
right?
Yeah.
And he just picks up things whenever it's a good deal, whether he needs it for something that day or not. He picks up things, tucks them away, and it's amazing what he works with. So, so the auction thing, I think, is a great idea, and it's good social interaction, which is
is key, I think, right? So yeah, it's big for us to get the community involved in every way we can, which is why we play the races, and we're going to be playing Halloween movies soon. We're going to be doing Christmas movies. I think in the off season we're going to be playing The Long Way Round. But it's really just as much as people can get in the door. We had our last bike night of the season last night, and there was a group kind of sitting around these couches having coffee, and they'd called me over to talk to me about something. But one of them had mentioned right away, why do we have to end this just because we're putting our bikes away? Like, why can't we keep Wednesdays going? Because they said, 6 months goes by and I don't know how you're doing. And then we get back to riding season. I see you every week and, that kind of thing. So I told them, well, that's the plan. That's exactly what we're going to try to do is just keep events going in the space. Big events, small events, swap meets, bigger things. But just small social stuff. And sometimes it might be 5 or 10 people that come out, but at least that's the community coming and people making connections. And
you and Lindsay seem to really love the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is who you guys are.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's like spending time with friends. It's not a chore.
Sure. Yeah.
Such,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's really cool that you guys like it. Lindsay, not here today. I don't think.
Yeah. No.
What's her role these days? Because I know she was on your social media a lot for a while.
Yeah.
Not as much lately.
Yeah.
What's going on?
We had our first child there 2 years ago, and that so she wasn't on social media as much. Well, she was pregnant and then a baby at home, and so she just wasn't on the social media as much. She used to also do a lot of like ladies only events and ladies only rides that she used to plan, but that was the reason why all that kind of got put aside. It's just trying to find time to do that stuff with a little one at home. So. So
is she a stay-at-home mom?
So no, she works for a different business. So
okay.
She does a lot of the back end of the business is all Lindsay. Definitely wouldn't be here without her. That's for sure. So I think a lot of people are used to seeing me on social media or used to seeing me in store, but it's Lindsay that keeps the business going. That's for sure. And then. Of course, all the product that we choose and aesthetics and all that's all both of us. So, so she's just not in the store day to day so much.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So
here on weekends sometimes?
Sometimes on weekends. Right now it's still hard with the little one because she's only 2. So, but, and we don't have family out in Shakespeare. So it's a little harder to find a sitter. But, as our little one gets a bit older, that'll change again. So.
And it is a little girl.
A little girl, yeah, for sure. Sure. She loves motorcycles. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, she loves them. So yeah, we take her out on a little electric mini bike, and she loves it. So.
Oh, nice. Good stuff.
So,
Good stuff.
For sure. So.
All right. Well, you know what? If there's nothing else here, I'm going to move the cameras over to your bike.
Sure.
And I'd really like to go over that with you.
Sure. Absolutely.
Okay. We'll do that. We'll be back in a couple of minutes here. All right, we've moved over to the bike, and I got to tell you, this Perth County Moto coffee that Jeff made me is so good, I'm not giving it up, so I'm keeping this while we're doing this, okay? Jeff, this is awesome. I love this bike, and as you know, right now I'm doing an XS 650.
Yeah.
Plan is to be here for Bad Living. Well, we'll be here for Bad Living. The plan is to have that bike here
one way or another.
well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice.
And I've got lots of ideas while we've been here. But I want you to talk about this bike. It is so nice. It's so well done. Maybe, if you don't mind, maybe we can just start at the front end and work our way back and tell us about it.
Sure.
So, the Springer and the front wheel and the whole setup, just go ahead and tell us what we need to know.
Well, first, I appreciate the compliments because I got to say I'm absolutely not a builder. And I like to make that clear to people for sure. And this is really done with the intent. This was my first, ground up build, we'll say. Again, I like to be clear that I'm not a builder. And it's really the point to say, I'm not a builder, but with the parts we carry, it's possible for somebody who's always dreamed of building a bike or has ambitions to do so, that they can put something together. So, and this one in particular, really, I had some really good friends. I'm not a mechanic, so I had really good friends who helped me with the engine when I got to that part, and other parts as well that I could talk about as we go. But yeah, just wanted to say that out of the gate, that it was really nice to work with I'd almost say a community of friends who really came together to help me put this bike together in the places I needed. So,
but I hate to interrupt. I apologize, but the message there that I always try and send people is hearing that story from you. If somebody's interested, if you used to be into motorcycles and you'd like to get back into it, you can pick up an XS 650 fairly economically.
Absolutely.
And you can start tinkering. And the beautiful thing about motorcycles, they don't take a lot of tools.
For sure.
They don't take a lot of space.
Yep.
As long as you've got a woman who cooperates with you, or maybe no woman, which is another option, you can do this in your living room. You could do this in the bathroom for the ensuite, something like that if you had to.
Yeah.
But motorcycles are just, they're easier to work on. It's not like building a four-wheel drive truck. Mm-hmm. And with the help that's out there, you don't have to be really skilled. You don't have to be a builder as such. Yeah. You can become one.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of, just to talk about that, I guess, we have a lot of men and women who come in who are either brand new to motorcycles, or a lot of people who are maybe retiring and saying, geez, I've ridden for years, I always wanted a chopper or a cafe racer or something, and I wouldn't even know where to start. And then we get talking and they realize, oh, this is approachable. And the amount of people who've come in with nothing but intention, or hopes, and then next thing you know, they're riding into a bike night on a beautiful chop or cafe or something. That's one of my favorite parts of the store, of having the store, to be honest with you, is helping people. And I might help to guide them through parts or any knowledge I do have. Anything I don't know, I'll learn to help them or point them in the direction of somebody who already knows. But yeah, anyway, so to your point. Now, I will say about the powder room, the first bike I ever painted was in our bathroom at home. Lindsay wasn't thrilled when I turned that into a paint booth, but that's a different...
But you got away with it.
That's the main thing. That was a different story.
Go.
But
okay, front end.
Sure. So, this all started off in a completely different direction when I started. It was going to be a very narrow, long lane splitter style bike. And the original tank I had, it never worked. I didn't like where the bike was going. And then Jamie from Savage Customs had painted this. I always loved the tank. And the second I placed it on the raw frame, the frame was hardtailed at this time already, but it was just a raw frame on my bench, and I put the tank on it, and I pretty much saw the bike as it is now right away, based off that tank. So that led a lot of direction, but so I kind of like this general shape, keeping things a little more round. So I went with the large 16-inch front and back tires with the Shinkos. These are Harley Repop tires. Every component, nut, bolt, wire, every single thing on this bike is stuff that we carry. It's the Mid-USA Springer. We carry a few Springer options that are all very good. I kind of like the antique style of the Mid-USA antique. So yeah, that's what I went with, and it's the shortest available, so it keeps the bike very low where it is. But yeah, and then going up, there's a lot of custom tech. I really like the aged brass and some unique pieces on their pieces. Mm-hmm. And then Moto Gadget also does some brass, so I was able to kind of tie that in, which I kind of liked with the gold on the tank as well. So that was kind of gets us up so far, I guess.
Headlight.
It's a Drag Specialties Spotlight on there, because again, I wanted it nice and small, and all the headlights were a little bit big on this front end, I found. And the tires are already so chunky that I wanted to keep everything else a little more proportion to them. So
Yeah, so I love the headlight on that. Handlebars, risers, speedo, I take it is what that is.
Yeah.
That's all really cool stuff. I love the layout and look. And of course that works with that tank laid down on there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I can't think of many other tanks that would have given you the clearance you need.
For sure.
So, and something I noticed, now I'm just going to point this out to people, is this tank is one of the deep tunnel tanks. So the tunnel goes way up inside there, which allows the tank to sit way down on the frame. You need to have the right setup, of course, because not every engine frame combination is going to allow you to go that far down.
Yeah.
It's also going to take away some fuel tank capacity.
For sure, yeah.
But the look is super cool and allows you to keep the bars low and all of that stuff. So I just wanted to add that to what you had said about it there.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did, because that's one of the things, like I say, once the tank was on that frame, originally I was going to do rabbit ears, so they were going to come up higher.
Right.
And once that was on there, I thought, oh, okay, now, I like how low that sits on the frame, so I wanted to keep the bars super low, so nothing was really too high on the bike. So Graham from Almost Old School is a great buddy. He makes phenomenal handlebars. So he came over. I had pretty much a vision in mind, which he was great at saying, yeah, let's do that. Let's make that work. And originally these bars were really going to tuck back really tight, more like a sharp boomerang almost. And he did. He kind of went back to his shop. He made those bars, and he called me and said, hey, I think we need to talk about this. I don't know these are going to be right for what you're doing. He sent me some pictures. And because I was kind of humming and hawing, again, Graham's amazing. He said, you know what? I'm going to make you 2 sets of bars. I'll bring them over. Let's try them out. You go with the ones that were right. And these were the ones that, they were just kind of ridiculously tight enough without being overly ridiculous that I couldn't ride the motorcycle. So,
cool.
Yeah, but all those other components are Custom Tech and Moto Gadget up there for sure.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah, and then the engine was 2 different XS650s that I took all the best pieces from that were both disassembled, and we rebuilt. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic, so I have 2 buddies that know engines much better than me, and both of them came over at different points of that rebuild and helped kind of guide me through it, which was great because I did a small engine class in high school where I rebuilt my first motorcycle engine in that winter, and I did it all myself just with a manual. But, these years later, for some reason, I thought I couldn't do it, so I had them helping me. Right. And in every step, it was a refresher of, oh, yeah, I've done this before. Like, it's all, as long as you follow what you're doing, it makes sense. So.
And again, motorcycles, air-cooled, 2 cylinders rather than 8 or whatever.
For sure.
Fairly simple.
Yeah.
And, for anybody who needs the encouragement, once you get a little bit of experience with somebody, putting these things together isn't that bad. And Japanese technology, the Japanese are pretty forgiving too,
For sure, yeah.
The way things are set up, these things are just meant to run for a very long time.
Yeah, that's it. They're so bulletproof that, you can't do too much wrong, right? As long as you're paying attention to what you're doing. So,
right.
Yeah.
Lots of chrome there. Are those, did you have your pieces replated, or are those aftermarket replacements?
Yeah, they were just aftermarkets they were old aftermarkets actually, that polished. So the engine all the components went to Rocket Performance in Whitby, and he vapor blasted everything. And then he had a buddy who does polishing. So I had him polish all the covers and just bring them back and everything.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I did send certain things out to be chrome plated. Like I said, everything's stuff we sell other than the exhaust we fabricated. And the hand shifter, I think, are the only things that were, as far as parts. Obviously, there's a lot of other little fabrication, but yeah. So yeah, and the exhaust was a fun night. Actually, Graham came over for that as well, and we thought, it'll be a couple hours, and I think he was there till probably 3 a.m, and he lives a good hour away and had to work the next morning. So for him, it was probably 5 by the time he got home. But yeah, we hung out, and again, I had 2 ideas for the exhaust. And we played with a few, and ultimately kind of came up with this idea where it wraps around the frame and they're pretty tight.
Right.
But yeah, that was a fun night.
It's a great exhaust. I've always loved that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. It's part of the fun to me of building this, really, was with having the store, I don't always make time to kind of hang out with buddies, so to speak.
Right.
So it was a nice excuse to hang out with buddies, to work on the motor, to do some fabrication, to mock up handlebars. And it was just, I spent more time in the garage, which was nice for me, to have some time doing something like that and not focusing on work and life, and hang out with some buddies and get some stuff done. So,
it's interesting you say that, because the same thing happens at my place where, Karen has been, she's a fantastic woman. She's been so good about building the garage and building it to suit my needs and everything. And, you know, we've worked long and hard and we've acquired and we've, you know, we've gotten to this stage, and I've never felt like it's for me.
Yeah.
It's for me and my friends.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
Yep.
you know, there's several guys who stop by on weekends and stuff. The social aspect is as important as the things that get done.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
It's just great. So I know exactly what you mean about spending time with friends and, you know, what gets done, and usually it's pretty good.
Yes, for sure.
That's the cool thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
It was so much more productive having them there some days.
Some days, yeah.
But the days that it wasn't, it was, you know.
It was still okay.
Exactly. Those were great days too. Yeah. So, yeah, for sure.
Excellent.
So
good stuff.
Yeah. So then I guess moving along, so we have, this is a Harley Kickstarter, but I really didn't like any of the options. There really weren't many options, I thought, for the XS650, so I just chopped off what I wanted here, welded it onto an XS650 arm. We bent it out to make a little bit of clearance for the exhaust. It's a TC Bros hardtail that we put on there. A lot of the parts are...
Do you still run electric start?
No. Yeah, I deleted that actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
so it's kick
and you
only.
put the delete plug in?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And that was another TC. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, there's a lot of his Prism Supply stuff that's, you know, meant for Harleys that were modified, the controls and stuff.
Yep.
But TC Bros and Prism Supply and Custom Tech, a lot of Moto Gadget on here. The other thing I wanted to do with this was show that you don't have to be a builder, to put a bike together necessarily, but also my original idea was to build a chopper that would still pass a safety and be street legal.
Right.
So that was my goal. So it's got all the lights and everything on here, which usually you eliminate on a chopper.
Yeah.
I fell short. Originally, I was going to put a micro horn that I was going to hide in the front motor mount. And in the end, I ran out of time. And because I wasn't doing that, I decided not to make a chain guard because I didn't. It wasn't. I like the look of it this way. So, so technically, I fell short of that. But other than that, really, it would pass the safety as far as everything else. So
good.
Yeah. So, or I did pass the safety. It's on the road. So,
nice.
Just to clarify.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Electrics.
Yeah, so it's running the Moto Gadget Blue unit in here. I'm a huge fan of Moto Gadget. They're bulletproof, like we talked about.
Yeah. And you carry quite a bit of Moto Gadget here at the store, don't
absolutely.
you?
I keep quite a bit in stock.
And therefore online as well.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we ship everywhere, so I carry a lot of that. It's nice to have in store because this one's set up where my phone is the key. So it's nice when people want to see how lights work or something. You know, as long as I'm near it, then we can flick it on and they can check that stuff out. And the lights are interesting. I use the Moto Gadget TENS lights, the TENS 3 and the TENS 2, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, which are the smallest DOT lights that you can get. So that's always kind of a fun thing I find.
I noticed they're pretty tiny.
Yeah, and it's usually something where I have people who are regulars who come in here who've looked at this bike many times, and then one day they'll say, I just noticed you've got turn signals. When did you put those on? And they've always been there and they're plenty bright. So but the Moto Gadget stuff's bulletproof. So I use as much of that as I could through this. So
seat?
The seat is built well. Yeah, that's that was the newer one they had, which I think was called the Slimline, with the matching pillion pad from them. So yeah, and because it's a small bike, not that I'm a tall guy, but I like the idea of the old racing pillions where they were just an extension of the seat. So if you had to slide back if you were racing. So and I do find, not that I've ridden the bike a lot, it's mostly here on display, but when I have ridden, I find that I do slide back on the seat for a little extra room. So
cool.
Yeah.
Carbs, what are you running for carbs?
They're the Mikunis, and they're actually the TC Bros kit. So they come with various jets and everything. So it's a full kit, so you can tune it as needed, and they're set up for the XS650. So, yeah,
pretty nice. Do they work?
Yeah, they're great for sure. Yeah, they're great. So the reason I'm not riding it is I still need to dial in the carbs. As I said, I'm not a mechanic, so it's not running as it should at the moment. So I got to get that done. But yeah. And then the oil tank here. So that's another thing I had chromed. That's the electronics tank from TC Bros. So my Moto Gadget's in there, and all my wiring's in there. So kind of hides it, keeps it nice and clean. So
No, that's excellent.
Yeah.
Rear fender. You were offering me some advice on a rear fender earlier here.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, this is the ribbed fender from TC Bros, which I like because it's one of the thickest fenders that we offer. I personally like the profile of it, but usually I suggest that fender to anybody who's running a passenger on the bike, or even if they plan on loading up that back sissy bar and fender. Because a lot of the fenders that I've got in from different companies, they can be pretty thin sometimes.
Yeah.
So when
this one is pretty stout. It's substantial for sure.
I've had people come and pick up their order fenders and come pick them up, and as they're going out their door, they'll say, "Wow, yeah, I just got to build a seat for my girlfriend now." And I think, "Ooh, that's makes me a little nervous." So, I try to direct people that one if it is the right size for them. So
brakes.
Yeah.
The brakes look pretty cool on this thing.
Yeah, so they're mostly GMA component brakes. I get through Mid USA. So again, they're all meant for these wheels, for the old shovel wheels. So yeah, just had to weld up some tabs for the hardtail for a brake stay there. But yeah.
Okay. So you converted the rear axle from 20 mil to 19?
That's right. Yeah. So I machined it down so it'll work on that wheel, but also still these axle plates. So yeah.
Okay, so you machined the 20 mil axle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just had to cut it down as well, because obviously this is more narrow, so yeah.
Yeah. And for people who may not know, 19 mil and 3/4 are, for all intents and purposes, the same size. Funny story about that, Snap-on Tools at one time made a wrench that was labeled 3/4 19, something like that. And the reason that they did that, they didn't make two different wrenches because the size difference from 3/4 to 19 is less than the manufacturing tolerance of a 3/4 inch wrench.
Oh, really?
So they figured, why make two wrenches when it's the same size? But eventually, probably for additional sales and selling sets, they made a 19 that your metric set was complete to 19.
Makes sense, yeah.
Your Imperial was complete to 3/4, but the 3/4 and the 19 are exactly the same.
Yeah,
wrench.
so they're making the same wrench, they're just stamping the what it is different.
Correct.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Nice, that's smart. Yeah.
But that's just so you know that 19 and 3/4 are the same size.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was really the
Sissy bar?
Sissy bar is the TC Bros kind of short bar, the short standard bar, and then the plate mount is a Prism supply mount that was just welded in place.
Okay.
And then the bolts there are LED bolts, so I still have my tag lights. So again, it's little things like that to kind of pass that safety, so to speak.
Yeah.
That
are these Moto Gadget?
No, they're not. They are K and S, I believe it is, off the top of my head. Yeah.
Cool.
So
Gas cap?
gas cap is from Mid USA as well. Yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of Mid USA stuff on there.
So you carry a lot of Mid USA?
I do, yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Good.
I stock as much as I can, and then so this one's also got. I guess I didn't mention. It's got the foot clutch with the suicide shifter. So
and I'll take pictures of this side and drop them in the video. So
that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, so that was that's nice. I use the foot controls are from Prism Supply. They're meant for big twin, but just made them work on here. Welded up some new mounts for them, and then the hand shifter. I have a little hobby lathe, so that was one of the first things I actually ever made on that lathe. So,
did I see that Almost Old School has a jockey shift for XS650s?
Yeah, I don't know.
Did I see that at Bad Livin' or something?
I think they're all for Harley. I think they're all for Harley. Yeah. But that's a newer product from him that hopefully we'll be carrying soon too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did a really good job with those. Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. So I'll get some pictures of this side of the bike because there's some things here we want to see, but we're just a little bit tight for space.
For sure.
So. Good. Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic bike. This thing is beautiful. I'll tell you that paint. The paint is...
That's Jamie from Savage Customs.
Right.
Yeah, up in Aurelia. He does phenomenal work with this, especially this kind of era metal flake with panels, and that's really his go-to. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get some pictures of it too. Beautiful work, just really, really nice. Jeff, this is awesome, and lots of inspiration for me. I figured out a lot of things looking at this, so that's great.
I appreciate it.
Okay. Hey, thanks for being here. If you're ever in Stratford, please stop into Perth County Moto. You won't be disappointed. Follow Perth County Moto, Instagram, YouTube, and even Facebook. You don't follow me on Facebook, because if I'm there, it's not intended to be. But you can follow Speed and Color on Instagram. We are, of course, on YouTube. You probably know that because you're watching this. We're also on podcast platforms. Don't forget, we have episodes of Build Stuff, BS, that is our new feature. When you subscribe to Speed and Color, you're going to want to turn on notifications, because our BS is not scheduled. We can BS anytime we want, and you don't want to miss out on our BS. That's it for today, folks. Jeff,
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
We'll see you soon, folks. Appreciate you being here.
Cheers.